Hello and welcome to a more serious video. This is something that I've wanted to do for a little bit of time now, but before we get started, make sure you like, share, and sub because it really helps the channel grow. Go ahead and drop a comment telling me your thoughts on the topic, so let's get right in. The AAA gaming industry, EA, Activision, DICE, just to name a few, have been in some serious heat for the past few years. Microtransactions, unfinished games, poor management, among others, have led us to the point that we're at now. But think about it for a second here. When was the last time you played a AAA game and really enjoyed it? Really saw yourself playing it over and over again? Maybe 2012? I know the last AAA game that I enjoyed and found myself consistently replaying was in the early 2010s with Halo. Just to name one. In Halo 3, Recon Armor, that was something that was earned. It is a symbol of elite status and skill, but that was something that you can never purchase with a microtransaction. The biggest problem with modern gaming would be the microtransactions. The problem with microtransactions is that it makes the initial standalone game feel incomplete by default. It forces people to consistently shell out money just to play the full game that they wanted to play from the get-go. So while these practices work to meet numbers and satisfy shareholders, they hurt the consumer confidence in the game industry in general. But let's look back a little bit at the first microtransaction that was ever implemented into a game. It was 2006 with Bethesda when they sold horse armor in Elder Scrolls Oblivion for $2.50. It was an experimental test to see with how the market's reaction to DLC would be. Most players reacted negatively, saying $2.50 for an in-game cosmetic was too much. And I quote, "We're not going to make any knee-jerk decisions based on the armor being available for 5 hours. We'll see what folks think and put a few others out that we have planned and figure out where to go from there." Some folks seem really excited and are already using it. Others don't want it. Maybe those folks really want the Ori or the Wizard Tower. We'll see when they all come out and use that info to determine what we'll put out and how much, etc. Said by Bethesda VP of PR Marketing Pete Hines. Let's fast forward to November 14th, 2018. Fallout 76 is released in a broken and almost unplayable state, with basic game performance and server utility in question. Considering this is a live service Fallout game, you would think that they would at least make the game a little bit more playable and released in a proper state. This game is rushed out, lacking in content. In an attempt to earn back lost revenue, the predatory microtransaction system was implemented. But before we go into that, let's put the earnings into perspective here. Fallout 76, that cost $100 million to produce and sold a pathetic 2.6 million copies, while its predecessor Fallout 4 had sold shy of 15 million copies and made over $75 million. Probably the most hated company in modern day, EA, who has a long history of predatory loot boxes, gambling mechanics, or as they like to call it, quote, surprise mechanics. FIFA Ultimate Team, Star Wars loot box debacle, and many other lawsuits. EA has been in the center of heated controversy since 2010. As per EA Games, quote, "Loot boxes aren't gambling, they're just like Kinder Eggs." A vice president of EA Games has defended the company's use of loot boxes, saying they're like Kinder Eggs. Another quote, "Actually quite ethical." So a vice president of a billion-dollar company is trying to tell us that something I can physically hold and purchase like a Kinder Egg with a random toy inside is the same as paying at least $5 for a loot box in the hopes of getting something, quote, rare, an intangible digital property, where you can't just purchase the one item that you want. You have to keep buying into the loot box to get the item that you want. This method has been also called a form of underage gambling, which is obviously illegal considering most underage people have access to EA games. I think we remember how the Star Wars Battlefront 2 debacle started with the loot box controversy. But now in 2020, many of those issues with the loot box and lack of content have been addressed and fixed. Now the game is a pretty flourishing community. This may be Star Wars Battlefront 2 2.0, and it may be a success story now in how it made a comeback, but the game will be remembered for its failures and controversy. Now let's talk about DICE and this Battlefield 5 disaster. DICE really misjudged their audience with this one, ultimately ignoring their core fans and supporters with the Battlefield for Everyone initiative. I personally think a lot of people who are buying or wanting to buy Battlefield 5 are hoping for historical accuracy and realism to an extent. I've not personally played the game, so I won't make any further comments on that topic. However, as an outsider looking in, the gameplay mechanics changing with time to kill and weapons changing, players need to relearn their favorite weapons all over again, or straight up ditch them for something else, which is something that players never asked for. Not only this, DICE completely ignored their player base who are spending money on the game by adding a BR mode that no one else asked for and dropping the Pacific Theater, which was something that people actually wanted. Anyway, a marketing strategy used by Activision for Modern Warfare was initially to launch without microtransactions to give the illusion that the game was not going to be having any. This was to have good first week and launch reviews. But let's talk about Activision a little bit. You would think with all the backlash from Black Ops 4 and its disgusting microtransaction system, Modern Warfare would not have as many or any at all. But Modern Warfare comes out, and the first month has no microtransactions, and for a little bit, each player had to earn their calling cards, emblems, and guns. But now microtransactions are in the game, and it's a bit lacking in terms of cosmetics that you can actually earn. But anyway, a level 1 player who just started the game can purchase a blueprint for a weapon that you can get when you're level 60. But the catch is, you can't edit the blueprint until you unlock the weapon. But it kind of defeats the purpose of ranking up just because you can buy it. Some of the big gaming companies have reached the point where they're willing to milk as much money as they can from their games to keep shareholders happy and just keep ignoring their player base. But here's the thing, some companies are underestimating their consumers. Once consumers start talking with their wallets and making these companies eat their losses, that's when they might lay off the microtransactions. I hope one day that we can return to that, where gameplay and content is included with a full price, and it's ready to be released and not rushed out the door riddled with microtransactions and bugs. But we also have a game called The Culling, where the game is remastered and advertised free to play, but you need to pay $5.99 per match. This shows that companies are willing to go to the most desperate measures to make money and milk their game into nothing. The biggest difference that we can do as consumers is support the indie studios who are finishing content, rich in gameplay and rewards, investing in early access games with hardworking and determined developers with a clear and consistent roadmap, like Ghost Ship Games, and supporting big companies like CD Projekt Red, who are swearing to release Cyberpunk 2077 without a single microtransaction. Games where it feels complete from day one, where they don't need the consumer to spend more money on content that should already be in the game, is what we should be expecting from all of these companies. They don't need to have the microtransactions, because 10 years ago we didn't have games with microtransactions. We had games that had fully finished content, full of cosmetics, full of rewards, but we'll see what the future holds. But this is just part one of a two-part series I'm trying to make. This video is focusing more on the negatives, but part two I want to focus more on the positive side of the big companies, like CD Projekt Red, for example. And I want to focus on some smaller indie studios like Face Punch Studios, who invented Rust. They, in my opinion, are doing microtransactions the right way, because I had no idea the microtransactions were even in that game until my friend pointed it out to me a couple days ago, actually. And I've been playing that game since 2013. So that just goes to show how predatory their microtransaction system is. But I'll save that for the next one. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more content like this. Leave a comment, because I'd really love to hear what you have to say on this topic. I know it's a really controversial and touchy topic, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Go and check out some of my other awesome content, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.